Hello and welcome to UU Elevate Tool eLearning Module 7, where we'll be going over the inputting of actual waste data onto Elevate. This module includes the inputting of waste transfer note details, how to select container types, selecting compaction rates and how this affects the weights of the waste types, the differences in the project phases when you're inputting actual wastes, and then selecting waste types. So let's get started. Click on your project and go to the Site Waste Management Plan. Click on tab 7 and you'll be presented with the actual versus forecast waste information. To enter actual waste data, click here at the top. Alternatively, you can go directly from the project home shortcuts and select Add Waste Data from there. So that can be done from the project homepage. You're then taken to the waste data input form. So you simply enter all of the bolded information, the date of the transfer, select from the carrier our waste contractor who's going to be taking the waste away, that's who we input before, the destination site, it's either going to be reused on the site ideally or taken elsewhere for recycling, the waste transfer note number. This can be an individual waste transfer note ticket or a series of tickets, as long as the reference number on the paperwork is identifiable in here. So for example, you could put the waste transfer note, the beginning number, and then a dash, and then the last number in the sequence. That would suffice. The container reference is a free field. You may choose to use this to marry up with your own internal procurement references. You can select the container type that the waste has gone off site in. This is an exhaustive list of every conceivable type of container, and the commonly used ones will be hidden in and amongst there somewhere. For example, 9 cubic meter 6-wheel tipper, we'll select one of those. The system uses the volume of the container type and then multiplies it by the compaction rate and the waste type to come up with a weight. So the compaction rate is quite an important thing to consider. The way I like to think of it is normal and compacted waste will be things like your office waste, your canteen waste that's in black bin bags, something that has waste that have a lot of void space in them. Select the top one for that. For slightly compacted waste, or let's say aggregates that have a natural slump but still quite a bit of airspace within them, you may want to select the slightly compacted option. Machine compactors tend to be for baling machines, hydraulic compression tools that squeeze all the airspace out of something. Or if you're not comfortable with the defaults, you can enter a specific void space here and enter it in. Multiple containers can be entered under a single data entry. So for example, if we had 20 of these 6-wheel tippers going off, all carrying the same material, you can enter that here and that'll save you doing the repetition of this form for every individual load. The overall tonnage can be entered, so instead of using the calculation based on the volume and the density here, if you know the actual tonnage, that can be entered into this form here and it will override the calculation that Elevate does based on this information above. Finally, in order to facilitate the identification of each waste stream, it's important to differentiate which waste activity the material has come from. So think of construction waste as being packaging wastes, anything resulting from consumables, so pallets, wooden packaging, plastic wrapping, things like that. They'd come from construction waste. Demolition would be crushed concretes, salvage woods, roof tiles, glass and things like that from demolishing structures. And then finally excavation would tend to be soils, clays, stones, made ground, anything that was dug out of the ground. So select the activity type accordingly. If you only have one type of material going off, tick that the container is segregated, and then you'll be able to choose which of the materials is in this load. Alternatively, if the waste going off site is somewhat mixed, untick segregated, and then enter the percentage estimate of each waste time that's mixed in. So for example, I've estimated 50%. So for example, I've estimated here that these 26-wheeled tippers were containing 50% brick, 25% concrete, and as you can see down here at the bottom we've got a progress bar totting up to 75%, and let's say that the remaining 25% was clay. That adds up to 100%. We can enter any specific notes about this load if we want, and then hit add to add those actuals to the project. The form then refreshes so that you can enter another waste stream if you so need. If you go back to project home and the site waste management plan home, back to the actuals, you'll see that we've got our first actual tonnages being entered here against the forecast. And that concludes this module.